Hello all and welcome once again to the Impact Zone podcast, and we are back once more to talk TNA wrestling shenanigans. And Bound for Glory just wrapped up, and Turning Point's on the way. We've got an announcement coming up. I guess I'll do it now because people are sort of talking about it, and I just started talking about it. So once I start talking about something, sometimes I just will blurt it out. Anyway, so they announced TNA Genesis returning on the 19th of January in Dallas, Texas. Now, I'm not sure about the arena, where it is, and whatnot, all of that, and so on and so forth, because I'm not an American. I don't live in America. I don't really know that much about America. I know a little bit about it. Citrus Culwell Center? Culwell Center? I don't know. Anyway, that is the location of the up-and-coming Genesis pay-per-view. I don't know whether this is it is a pay-per-view. I guess it says it here that it's a pay-per-view, but yes, I'm wondering if it's one of the more quote-unquote minor pay-per-views, or it's going to be a more major pay-per-view like Hard to Kill. Is Hard to Kill still on the roster? As far as pay-per-views, I'm assuming it will be at some point. Maybe it's just changed months or whatever. That's good that we know we've got an event early next year. The fallout from Genesis will continue with a special live edition of TNA Impact on Thursday the 23rd. At the Boeing Center at Techport, San Antonio. So that is, I believe, where they filmed, they had Victory Road. So it's not the same place as what Genesis will be, so I'm guessing that Genesis is the arena there. As I said, I don't know STFA about it, Sweet FA about it, but I'm assuming, therefore, it's a bigger arena than the one at Techport, which held about 2K people from memory there. So at least 2K. I believe that Bound for Glory was about 3K or thereabouts, and they did sell out apparently as well there. So that's also positive news. I do want to go through some of the stuff here as we go along. Obviously, a lot of people are talking about the bigger higher stakes matches. I think they're I wanted to start with this, I guess, because there's a lot of people are disappointed in the main, one of the main events at least, but honestly, again, it's just one of those things. You know, I think people need to, and I'm a bit disappointed too, and I kind of, need to realize, hey, even when you think, this is the clear plan or whatever, it's not that they're not pulling the trigger, so to speak, on Joe Hendry, so to speak, because again, they have that issue that is in front of them, which is that they don't know, hey, well, what's going to happen? When's it going to happen? Is Joe leaving? When's he leaving? That type thing. That's why I think, perhaps putting the title on him sooner or as quickly as possible would have been the best call. But then again, maybe just saying, hey, well, we can't figure it out. We can't risk it or whatever. I don't know. Or maybe it's just because, actually what we really want to do is we really do want him to actually, go over to WWE close to when the Royal Rumble's happening and win the with the WWE with the TNA title and be on the main roster. So I don't know, but again, we've talked about this a bit, where I said, well, I feel like they need to draw this out, and their perspective is they need to draw this out, and that they needed to draw more money out of the fans and whatnot for this journey. It's not quite over yet, I don't think, especially with the end to the show. So I think a lot of people are disappointed though. So I get that from those people, because as I said, I'm a bit disappointed in that. But like a lot of the rest of the show was really, really good. And like one thing in the show, to me as a fan who watches every single week and probably watch every single week no matter what, to some extent, like not getting literally every single thing that you want is sometimes just the way of things. It's just the way of things. So it's unfortunate, like I said, but that's how it is, and like I didn't get everything that I really wanted out of a lot of this year and whatnot, or I thought, or I felt like WWE's teasing us or whatever, and all this sort of stuff. So yeah, we definitely didn't get the full drumstick here or whatever, but we got some really good things, here on the show, and not every single thing can be like the thing that we want. I think that's the thing, and people need to, again, it's just one of those things. Sometimes it's like, oh, well, we need to let them tell us the story, like, so we can finish that story, and whatnot. I see people, giving up on TNA or throwing in the towel with TNA and whatnot, just because they didn't put the title on Joe Hendry and whatnot. And like, they're overreacting, I think, in many ways, and whatnot, like, I know people were sad when Cody lost at WrestleMania, but I don't think people were like, oh, well, lol, WWE's doing lol WWE things again, lol. But people are coming out of the woodwork now going, oh, TNA lol, lol TNA doing TNA lol things, lol, 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 and whatnot. So, no. I don't think that at all. I think people need to, step back and kind of reassess that, if that's your perspective or whatever and whatnot. But yeah, it's not perfect, and nothing ever is. That's the thing. Like, you've got to take the good with the bad and the bad with the good and whatnot. That's life. That's how it goes. So yeah, we're so I've already sort of talked about Nemeth and Hendry there and whatnot. But yeah, it seems like that's going to continue on. So maybe at Turning Point we might see another match between the two. Maybe, I don't know, but it starts to me to think about, well, where's, like, as I said before, like, where are they going next? Who's going to be next? And it does feel like Kazarian's potentially next. And, maybe Joe wins it then. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, or whatever it is. So we'll continue to keep our eyes on it. So yeah, we'll move on to more things that happened at Bound for Glory. Like 90% of the matches that I think I thought, the match is going to go this way, the match is going to go this way or that way or whatever, happened basically the way that I thought. And thing is, it's like, well, we're in this position, and this is where we're at, and this is where we're going, and this is what's going on, like, which is good, I think the Hardys and potentially Joe winning were the only matches that I think I got wrong. I can't remember if I got anything else wrong. Those are the two that are coming to mind, at least. Maybe I got another one, and I'll talk about it when I get there. But yeah, no, I think those were the only matches that I got wrong. And actually, the other day after I'd finished recording the episode, I actually was changing my mind and thinking, no, wait, they changed the triple threat ladder match, the full Metal Mayhem match, to being one of the main events. and then they were sort of talking about it, like Grace versus Slamovich, then the world title match, and then the triple threat ladder match, the Full Metal Mayhem match. So that started to make me feel like, well, wait a minute. It's almost like they're talking about them in order, not just because they wouldn't put the knockouts match. They probably wouldn't put that knockouts match on last, but would they put the Full Metal Mayhem match on last? Well, maybe, but then I thought only if, the Hardys are probably winning. And then I went, oh shit, so that means the Hardys are winning, doesn't it? And I was like, oh yeah, that pretty much means the Hardys are winning. Oh yeah, right, okay. So I just worked it out after that, I think it was, and I was like, oh man, that one prediction is probably going to be wrong. So I had that going in my mind as I came into watching this show. So I did sort of rearrange it in my own mind, but I didn't put it out there anywhere, I don't think so. Yeah, it didn't disappoint me at all. Like, even if it had gone the way I predicted it, it wouldn't have, it might have disappointed me, especially if it was the main event. But I still think it was a really great match there, with the Hardys and ABC and all that. Obviously we're going to get the Hardys and System rematch at some point, probably, at Turning Point. I don't know when they're going to do Hardys and ABC at some point. I don't know. It's like, well, what else are you going to do, at some point? Because they're the only other, big team that's in there. Maybe the Rascals, I don't know. They're there. So, it's one of those things. But still, who else is in there that they haven't really faced off against? Jake Something and Hammerstone, if they're going to continue to be a team. Good Hands, but they're basically a jobber team. So, not much interest there. So yeah, this is first. They've already faced First Class. They've already faced the System. Sinner and Saint now that they're heels, but I kind of want that nearer to the end because I kind of want Sinner and Saint to win those titles. So, but then again, it's always feasible that they could win them at some point. And sometimes with the way the booking of these things goes, it makes somewhat no sense in some ways or whatever it is. I think that they should have held back a little bit on ABC cashing in their original perhaps title rematch or something and that sort of thing. I don't know. It's tough to say because it was already going on for a fair amount of time or whatever. That they hadn't cashed it in or whatever and that sort of thing. But at that point keeps wanting to say Survivor Series or SummerSlam. I don't know why. I'm so into that unfortunate space sometimes of having the WWE product fixated in my mind sometimes. But Slammiversary, I think at that time they already had Jeff Hardy or whatever and all of that. So it was well, clearly we want to do something with the Hardys. But I guess the plans were that concrete yet. So, I don't know. But, so the build to making Hardy's ABC System was a little bit wonky, I guess. I don't know. It's just I think you should have had that in the back of your mind to being well, why are we, doing this, or where are we going? How are we getting these guys together, not just flip-flopping the titles every few weeks or every few months or whatever it is. We're going to make sure we do this right, and we, it actually feels like it's, not just, hot potatoing the title here, there, and everywhere, because, it's one of those things, but it is one of those things. Sometimes you go, oh, well, we had these plans, or whatever, and now we have these plans. So how do we get from where we're at A to B to C to D to E to F, etc. And so we're now in this position where we just put the titles on the system, but we kind of want to get the Hardys and ABC all involved in a match instead of like giving the ABC their immediate rematch, which is what they did. They should have kept it off or whatever, and that sort of thing, and you know, and sort of, you know, or had some sort of screwy finish or whatever at Victory Road perhaps, and it felt like, hey, they really got robbed or whatever, or they didn't get their dues or whatever it was, and all that. You know, and then like build to Bound for Glory from there. Like they still seemingly have like, you know, a gripe or whatever and whatnot, and they're trying to finish up on that and end it. And yet, you know, the Hardys have gotten a win over the system, and it looks like they're, you know, as I said before, like they the Hardys beat the system there just before Victory Road, and then the system won the titles. It was like, you know, like that didn't make any sense. It should have been after Victory Road, you know, or whatever, or something, or just a singles win or something, you know, not a tag team win, you know, or something else. I don't know. It's tough to do, but it's just one of those things that it's like, well, you shouldn't have done that, because it was like, you know, now the champions don't feel like, you know, they're legitimate and whatnot and all that sort of thing. So, you know, now you're painting them into a corner of being, you know, like the heels are honestly a bit weaker a lot of the time, but still, like, especially when they just won the titles and they're only going to hold it for like a month or whatever it was or whatnot. It's like, well, that's just, you know, silly. You know, you shouldn't have done that. You should have said, okay, you know, let them hold it from Slammiversary to Bound for Glory. Even that's not that long, only 3 months or whatever it is. But it's longer than just saying, oh, well, we'll put it on the ABC, then we'll put it back on the system, then we'll put it, you know, onto the Hardys or whatever. You know, it's like all these really short reigns are not good. Like, you know, I know sometimes people complain too much about like some of that sort of stuff and whatnot, and like some people forget that you know, some of these reigns that you think like so highly of were actually like fairly short reigns or whatever, but they made a big impact or whatever. Really, in this reign, like the system didn't make a big impact. They could have, like, it would have been a bigger impact if they had have just held the titles, even by hook or by crook or whatever it was, and then, you know, had to face the Hardys, or seemingly it was like, oh yeah, you know, they lost in a singles match, you know, looks like the Hardys have got their number because they've beaten them here and they've beaten them there and they've beaten them, you know, here, there, and everywhere and whatnot, and that sort of thing, seemingly. So it seems like they're probably number one contenders, then beat them in like a, you know, they don't have to beat them in a tag team match or whatever, but it looks like they're got their number, and then you've still got the ABC, and then you say, okay, well, what we're going to do is we're going to have a number one contendership match between you two, you know, and that's going to go to Bound for Glory, you know, again, straight, you know, direction, this is where we're going. Oh, and okay, cool, the system interfered. Okay, well, now it's just going to be a triple threat, and it's going to be Full Metal Mayhem. Okay, cool. You know, and then start doing stuff from there, you know. So, yeah, you've got to do those things. Like, it's easy like, it's almost easy in hindsight, but even when like some of these things were happening, it was like, why are you doing that? Why didn't you stop, hang on, hold your horses, not go with the first thing that you thought of, and just go, okay, well, we need to do this. We need to make everyone look good, not just the Hardys or whoever. We need to make everyone look good, because if we flip-flop these titles too much, you know, it hurts the Hardys in the long run, because it's like, well, they beat effectively, you know, neutered tag team champions that, you know, no one believed in, and it's hard to believe in them anyway, in some sense, because like they seemingly always lose anyway, for the most part. At least Myers does. And the same thing. It was like, well, at the same time, they were both Eddie Edwards and Myers, I think it was, and JDC were all losing to Santana. So it was like, what's going on here? Like, it's one of those things. You can't have them take too many losses that make them feel weak or too weak. They've got to win and they've got to lose. They can't just lose all the time or seemingly lose all the time, especially the same person losing all the time, because, at a certain point it's like, well, guys, come on. This guy, he always loses for the fuck's sake, like, why'd you put him on your team? Like, logically, like, obviously in the dynamics of a team like that, they need to have a foil or two or bodies to throw at people and things like that. So, and people need to win and need to lose. But again, having that perception of, well, he's effectively just a jobber or whatever is not good for when you've got a match coming up and it's like, well, I guess Brian Myers is getting pinned because obviously they're not retaining or whatnot and that sort of thing. So yeah, the formula is very easy to follow, I think, for a lot of people. So I mean, people follow through with it on a weekly basis and a monthly basis and whatnot. I think for people perhaps who just tune in for like one or two pay-per-views or when they can be asked or when they whatever might be a bit different. But again, yeah, I still think that there is that problem of the same thing with the X Division title in some regards, like, or at least why didn't you turn having that X Division title thing into a story of some sort? So like Vikingo and Bailey, they had a good match as well. I thought that was going to be like match of the night. It was one of the top matches definitely of the night as well. But like, as I said, there was just like no story and no real stakes. Like when they said, oh yeah, I think this is like their second match, but Bailey's never beaten Vikingo and Bailey's never won at Bound for Glory. I was like, oh, well, that would have been good story to kind of have like before this, like, like to be going in like and be like, oh, okay, this is why, okay, cool. At least there's something tangible in some ways for the fans to sort of get behind and see, like, oh, that's why these guys are fighting. All right, cool. Oh yeah, Bailey's never won at Bound for Glory. I didn't realize that. Like whatnot. So how's he going to come out on top? Blah blah blah. This and that. It took a lot more. Yeah, he had to dig into his tricks. Whatnot. So they told that story kind of in the ring, per se, a little bit. I don't really think most of the fans got the context of it. So, but yeah, whatever. I think I really, like I said, I was going to enjoy it. I don't know whether this was number 3 or number 2. It's tough to pick matches that are like all them. Like a lot of the matches were real good, but like there was a lot of good matches here to enjoy. So, yeah, Bailey retained. Actually, I noticed that Vikingo's turning up next week or whatever it is or whatnot. And they, on the Halloween episode, and they said, like, on the graphic, new X Division champion, Vikingo, and it was like, wait, he didn't win the title, so obviously they must have planned for him to win, and it was like, oh, well, got the wrong graphic or something or whatnot, or had a graphic for him, potentially, if he won, and they just put up the wrong graphic, I think. So, I don't know. don't know about what happened with there, but he's definitely not the X Division champion. So, but yeah, PCO and Cardona, I kind of disappointed in that one because it didn't really like play up to the Monsters Ball classic tropes of them being in the cells, them being released, them like shying away from the lights, like acting hungry, etc. You know, like they didn't do any of that stuff, and like, you know, they didn't really make any mention of it. So it was like, did they actually do it, or did they just say, hey, have a hardcore match and we're calling it Monsters Ball? You know, like, I don't know. Like, you know, that's what I mean. Like, that's the point of Monsters Ball. Like, yes, you can just have a hardcore match, obviously, but like some of those extra stakes that you get to see sometimes people go through are, you know, part of that spectacle that makes it a little bit different and a little bit more interesting and whatnot, you know. So but yeah, I was kind of disappointed in it because it wasn't, I didn't think it was going to be all that amazing, but like I thought, like, oh, it'll be a massacre or whatever. It was all right as a massacre in some ways, but was still a little bit disappointed by the level of like violence. And I guess one of the things is it's like, well, it's early on in the card, so they've got to save some stuff for later on in the cards. They can't do too much, I guess. So I guess it'll get a pass in this regard because again, they definitely did a bit of stuff as well. It's not like it's just piddling and bad. It's just like, you know, I was expecting a bit more considering the feud going in and whatnot. I don't know. So it was just kind of like, yeah, I don't know. Not much here to write home about. I suppose it was just fine for what it was. Josh Alexander and Macklin. Actually, I was interested in the finish of this one because I was saying before, like I was starting to feel like Josh Alexander is trying to hark back to 1997 Bret Hart in some ways. Like, and the finish of their match really harked back to WrestleMania 13, where, you know, Steve Macklin was playing the part of Stone Cold Steve Austin, and Macklin's kind of a little bit Steve Austin-ish, kind of, in some ways. He's obviously taken a little bit out of that page and that book, which is kind of cool. And a lot of people take away from The Rock or from Ric Flair or whatever. You know, people take from people all the time, but it's usually not while, in my opinion, you know, like a finisher or something too clear to make it like, oh yeah, I'm just ripping off The Rock, or I'm just, you know, trying to be The Rock or whatever. No, this is actually me or whatever, but, you know, I'm kind of, you know, similar to that in some ways, you know, or whatever. This is my character, which is similar to that. But it's not the same, you know, it's got a lot more different to it and whatnot, or whatever. But, yeah, no, like, where Steve Macklin effectively just passed out to the submission, he wouldn't tap out, he wouldn't quit, he wouldn't give it up, you know, that was pretty darn cool in many ways. I think, you know, him fighting through the whole, well, not the whole match, but the whole last half of the match or whatever it was, basically with his hands tied behind his back and whatnot, was, you know, a really badass way of showing, you know, like he won't quit and whatnot, and it really led to the finish. So that's that was really good, I think there. And I think their match again is like one of the top couple of matches, because it's like, again, like they had a match back, you know, a while back, and it's like, how do you top your last match and whatnot? So yeah, and the same thing with like Marsha and Grace. It's like, you know, started thinking, how are they going to top their last match? And I didn't think it was going to. I thought, oh yeah, it'll be, you know, like I think they had another match or two after Bound for Glory, didn't they? I don't remember a lot of it, unfortunately, because it's a while ago now. But yeah, like I'm pretty sure they had matches still after that. But yeah, I think that this match, is definitely up there. And I think like I prefer that Marsha won it. I don't know. It's just like it's been so long with Grace at the top, and it's just been pretty mediocre this run. Realistically, she's done some good things and she's done some good stuff certainly, and whatnot. I don't want to take anything away from her, but it's just one of those things. It's like without a lot of stories going on. Like there was one story kind of going on, but you need more than that. And it's just like the division was kind of lacking, and I felt the division was, was still kind of lacking and whatnot. So I feel like it's like, well, where's all this going? I want to talk about something in the Call Your Shot Gauntlet in regards to that, which was that there was only 2 female wrestlers in the Call Your Shot Gauntlet. So it was like, the heck is this? But yeah, it's one of those things again where it's like, well, now obviously those 2 are going to feud, and well, we know who's winning out of that feud because like Tasha Steelz has pretty much just been relegated to the status of jobber. So which is sad to see for such a charismatic and talented performer and whatnot. I think it's tough because it's like, well, you need these other people to go on and do stuff, but it's just like, well, can we get something for somebody and they have something to do, not just job to everyone or whatever all the time. It's like, cool, great. What was that tag team thing? And that didn't last, did it? Or is it still going on? We don't know what's happening. And whatnot. So I'll go back to the Call Your Shot Gauntlet in a minute. Moose and Santana. Great. Googly moogly. But yeah, like, no. Like, that's what I was kind of expecting in some ways. I was kind of expecting the chain to come into it more. Came into it kind of at the end. Kind of feel like they're going to have chain match at some point, maybe turning point. I don't know, but yeah, it was just great. Like they really went hell for leather, with each other, and it shows something. It shows a lot when you have a good competitors and you're given enough time to work, like, and that's same with a lot of these matches. You're given really good, talented performers, and you're given time and the ability to go out there and really paint a picture and tell a story. Not just, you've got 5 minutes or you've got 10 minutes or whatever it is. And that's the realities of, like, weekly TV. You've got to try to have that good match in, like, 5 to 10 minutes or whatever it is. Because there's not a lot of time usually on the TV shows. You've got to have moments and promos and packages and TV breaks and all this other stuff. You've got to have all sorts of things going on. You can't just have wrestling, but you've got to have wrestling on there as well. It's got to fill up at least a large portion of the show, and you've got to show a diverse wrestling show, not just tag teams, not just like, well, not cruiserweights, but again, that high-flying, fast-paced action. Your world title contenders or your heavyweights. You've got to show the women, you've got to show this, you've got to show that, like, you've got to have variety. You can't just, like, some people complain about comedy and whatnot, and that sort of thing in wrestling, and meme wrestlers and whatnot, and all of that sort of stuff and whatnot. But it's one of those things. It's like, that's what you need. You can't just have every match be a hardcore match, or every match be a technical wrestling classic. Like, you need to change the pace between some of these matches. That's why you have, like, as I said before, like the Monsters Ball that was earlier wasn't maybe as good as what I felt it maybe should have been or whatever. But again, they needed to save things for the main event, which was, really spectacular. But it, like, it probably wouldn't have been if, they had have said, okay, guys, you can have some ladders to play with. It would have been like, well, ladders are now overused or whatever. Same thing with they had have used, more chairs. They didn't use chairs that much. They did use chairs, but they didn't use them that much. They didn't use tables and whatnot. And I was like, what's with the doors? And then I was like, oh, yeah, because they've got tables in the main events. So it's like, well, they can't use tables. They've got to use something like tables and got to set things up like tables, but they can't really use tables per se. But I think a door would be worse, honestly. But then again, it's just like, well, it sort of saves the illusion of the table for later or whatever, I guess. I don't know. But still, it's just one of those things of thinking like, oh, yeah, we can't use tables. We need to use something like a table. So doors. Okay, cool. Right. I don't know why it was 3 doors either. It's like maybe lucky numbers or something. I don't know. But yeah. Yeah. I was thinking like maybe they could have used like 2 doors. I don't know. Whatever. Doesn't really matter. But yeah, still, like, that hardcore match there was Monsters Ball was really good as well. So, at least, for what it was and the time it was given, and I think the people involved, I think, like, again, same with PCO, it's like, man, just no, time to think about moving on or whatever. With the Call Your Shot gauntlet, yeah, I got that one too, which I was really surprised by. But then I was like, well, like, who has a story? And then when it was like down to the final 4, it was like AJ and Kaz, and I was like, okay, it's one of them. And then AJ got eliminated, and I was like, okay, well, it's probably Kaz then. Like, they had me on the hook of my seat there once, I think, with one pinfall or whatever it was, and I was like, oh. Like, there was a few moments like that throughout the night that I was like, like with Santana and whatnot that did that. I was like, they got me, and I was like, holy crap, yeah, but yeah, like, yeah, that's that. It is one of those things. Heather Reckless and Ash by Aliens, like, again, the same sort of thing. It's like, well, where are they going? Obviously, the tag team titles, so they won their match as well. As I said before, Danny Luna and Jody Threat won their match, which, yeah, sure, like, and both of those matches were okay as well, but I think Luna, Threat, and Wendy Chu and Rosemary was better. I think, like, Rosemary turning on Wendy Chu was interesting, but then again, it's like, well, what are you doing that for? Like, are you actually going to put Rosemary in a singles division role, or, what plans have you actually got for her? Like, what, like, or is there something to do with Wendy Chu? I don't know. Like, are they actually going to have a singles match at some point? Is it going to be in NXT, or is it going to be in TNA? Like, I don't know. So again, it's like, well, what's going on here? Like, like, is there an actual payoff for this, or is this just like, well, we're never going to see her again, or whatever, pretty much. So, but yeah, I think that's pretty much everything on the card there. From my memory, at least. It's terrible sometimes when you forget something or whatever and whatnot, but like, the Hall of Fames were fun. I think Rhino being in the gauntlet, I think it was one of, like, the last guys to come in as well, was kind of funny, and whatnot, that he was gonna wrestle in the show. Or on the show, because I was saying before, like, it would be cool to see him do something, since he was like on the first one and main eventing and whatnot, all that stuff. And what else was there? Yeah, he came down to the final two there and whatnot. Like, same thing there. He's just been effectively regulated to that jobber status, so wasn't too like. And I was already like, well, Kaz is winning because he's got an actual story like that's been built up for weeks and months and whatever else. Whereas Rhino, yeah, sentimental hometown favorite, sure, but like, people can get over it. I was actually kind of like within the main event because Kaz was looking like he was going to cash in. I'm still expecting him to cash in at some point, but when? Don't know. I think that he might pick his spot. I don't know. Because that's why I was thinking like he's going to be the next person to hold it or whatever. And I sort of am forgetting whether Nemeth actually beat him one-on-one. Maybe he did. Like, I think he did, like, when he first came into the company or something, or whatever it was. But I think after, like, after a feud of some sort that he broke his hand and that, and he beat him in the five-way match. But I was like, did he really beat him after that? I can't really remember. So, but still, I feel like it's like the 90 odd percentile of like call your shot has been a thing for a while, and I don't think they want to downgrade it too much. They want to keep it pretty high, so it's like, well, we can't have him lose probably or whatever, or we don't want to do that or whatnot. So hopefully if Kaz does get his time, that it's not just again another hot potato moment of, maybe now that Nemeth's held it for a couple of months or whatever it's been, it's like, well, when is he going to, like, drop it, like that sort of thing. And then it's like, right, well, now it's on Kaz. When's he going to drop it? Who's he going to drop it to? It feels like Hendry's the most obvious person. But again, it's like, well, I think actually, honestly, in some ways, they should just put the title on Kaz again. I think that they've said that after Slammiversary and whatnot. But I think they should have put it on Kaz and then just built to Kaz and Hendry at Bound for Glory. It would have made more sense. And it probably would have come with the conclusion that more people wanted. So, but yeah, overall, I think the show was quite a good show. I think probably 9 out of 10 or something like that. And I don't really think Hendry losing to Nemeth was that big of a detriment, just in my perspective, even though I'm a bit disappointed in that. But then again, I got so much else out of this show and whatnot that it was a really good show. I think some of the things could have been a little bit better or whatever. I think perhaps it's also my connection with the internet perhaps as well, isn't the best, but it's just one of those things that when you have these issues, it's like, oh man, I don't know whether it's them or whether it's me, so you start blaming it on them or whatever. I don't know, but still. But yeah, and just one or two other little things I would have liked to seen or at least to feel like, something's happening, or, you can see, what's next or more of what's next, and you feel like somebody's actually gonna get somewhere, Steels, it's every single week it's man, she's going nowhere. And she's so charismatic and so cool and whatnot all the time, but she's just yeah, I'm here or whatever, pretty much. That's what I think. A few people have kind of fell into that trap of yeah, I'm here, or not even here, every week or even every month or even whatever it's been. It's you need to make time for more things, and that's why again I keep saying you need to have more of a diverse singles division for the women, because then you could be moving people in and out of that mid-card singles division more so, and doing stuff there and giving people stories and things to work with more so, and you could give more people more things to work with more quickly over, over a period of time. So, then and you can build people up through it, through wins and losses, not just, oh, well, we don't have the time and space to build up these wins and losses, sometimes or whatever. It's like, oh, okay, quick, this person, that person, you rematch now or whatever, or you and you match now. Like, sometimes it's like, yes, the story's got to be there too, but like, you've got to have your wins and losses as well. But anyway, I don't even think like having, like, as I said, Joe win would have given much more points to me. Like, I think the action overall sells it more to me, or the story more so sells it to me mostly than specific people I want to win so much. Like, if it was like a lot more stuff that I was like, oh man, what did they do this for, and whatever, I was like, yeah, sure, but like, if you actually look at it in another perspective or whatever, you can like look at it and go, oh yeah, okay, all right, I can see what they're trying to do here, or I can see that it's not just a simple A to B to C, like they're trying to, or they're trying not to hot potato the title or whatever else. So yeah, it's one of those things, or whatnot. So yeah, that's where we're at for right now. Turning Point, as I think I said about it, but Turning Point will be up next. So yeah, we've got to get ready for that, and yeah, I'm assuming rematches for titles and whatnot. I'm actually expecting some bigger things at that point, hopefully, at least, and going into next year, because like, yeah, you really need a lot more going on, especially when it's like, well, are you actually going to turn Marsha full babyface, or is she full babyface? I think she is now, kind of, or is she going to go back to being kind of heel? I don't know. So, but yeah, like, that's where I'm at. I'm pretty cool with it all. I'm pretty happy with it all, and again, like, it's not like I would tune out too much too easily, like, so, but yeah, like, that's the way the cookie crumbles, as they say sometimes. But yeah, guys, I hope you guys, most of you guys enjoyed it, and most of you guys enjoyed this show here as well. I try to do the best that I can with what I've got, and whatnot. And as I've said before, if you guys want to get involved or whatever, talk about TNA on here, do write me a comment down there below, and I will try to get back to you if you've got or get your contact details if you're on Twitter, Facebook, whatever, so that we can follow it up and figure out times and dates and whatever else that we can film stuff on for the show and whatnot. So yeah, I am still looking. I was trying to look for people to come onto the show, but yeah, it's not very easy when people just don't reply to you or whatever, and this sort of thing. So I understand that as well, but you've got to understand people have busy lives and whatnot. So yeah, I get it sometimes too, but yeah, people need to make time for those things as well, or understand that sometimes things just don't happen or don't come together, or fall through, because hey, well, I live, as I said, don't live in America, I live in Australia, so the time difference, and I don't want to wake you up at stupid o'clock in the morning or whatever, or keep you up stupid late in the evening or whatever, and I don't want to get up stupid early in the morning or be up stupid late at night either. So it's just like trying to find those times that work for everyone, that sometimes is a bit of an issue and whatnot, but still. Anyway, guys, hope you will join me again in another one.